911 calls in Denver are being answered much faster than they used to. That is not the case everywhere in the state.
9 News reporter Brianna Fernandez is live in Denver. And Brianna, the city has made progress, but some of our mountain communities are still struggling.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Good morning to both of you. So we know Denver is finally getting ready to be fully staffed, and what has helped them recruit and retain is the increase in pay. So we know those 911 call takers, they make around $60,000, which is about a 45% increase. Now we know the other parts here in Colorado are trying to do the same, but they say it's just not enough. And those parts of Colorado, those are the mountain communities that we've been talking about. Clear Creek plans to outsource its 911 entirely. Now they're in the process of contracting with Jeffcom for 911 services. And for example, in Park County, the department should have 10 full-time dispatchers, and right now they only have 3. The director of the 911 center, a former dispatcher herself, has to step in and take those calls. And then those overnight 911 calls are answered by dispatchers in other parts of the county, so next door to them.
Up here in the mountains, that's the way we do. You know, we try and help each other out as much as we can. Park County is not a rich county, but we have to find funding to fund law enforcement, to fund our dispatchers, and able to provide services to the county.
Now, while Denver is on the right track, they say that they still have a lot of work to do. The national standard is for 90% of those calls to be answered within 15 seconds. Right now, Denver is at about 70% in the first 3 weeks of October, and that's up 56% than what they had in September. Corey, Jordan?
Well, we hope we can get them some help of those mountain communities, because we know that when you have a full staff, not only is it great for the people who are calling, but it's great for the people taking the calls, especially because they can be pretty heavy.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And also those 911 callers, the ones that are calling for help in the mountain communities, they want that response to be much quicker. Right now, they're just waiting. They're just on hold and hoping someone comes along.
Yeah. All right, Brianna, we appreciate you. Thank you.
So we all know 911 for emergencies. There's also 988, the National Suicide and Crisis Hotline. Millions of people have used it since it launched last year, but a new study shows most people say they wouldn't turn to 988 again. Research found those with severe psychological distress were more likely than others to have used or heard of 988. But only a quarter of people said they would likely turn to 988 in the future if they or a loved one were suicidal or having a mental health crisis. The study's lead researcher says they still have to look into the reasons why people wouldn't use it again, but he says the data shouldn't mean the service is a failure. It will just take some time to get it right.
The trial of one officer charged in Elijah McLean's death could wrap up by the end of this week. And for the first time, we are hearing from Nathan Woodyard's defense team. Woodyard faces a single charge of reckless manslaughter in McLean's 2019 death. Woodyard was the first officer to stop McLean before they threw him to the ground and restrained him. Then paramedics injected him with a sedative. McLean was not armed and was not breaking the law. Woodyard's lawyers say that it was the paramedics that caused McLean's death. During testimony yesterday, a doctor said the carotid neck hold that Woodyard used on McLean is not what killed him.
There are multiple issues in this case, medical issues. And the proportion of medical events related to Mr. Woodyard is quite minimal. It's a carotid hold. But the medical issues as to why the decedent actually passed away are extensive.
He went on to say the ketamine injection was the sole cause of McLean's death. The paramedics charged in this case are set to go on trial this month after Woodyard's trial wraps up.
It's 6:06 right now, and lawyers trying to keep Donald Trump off Colorado's ballot say the former president had a relationship with far-right extremists for years before the January 6th attack on the Capitol. 6 Coloradans are suing to keep Trump off the ballot, saying he incited the insurrection, and that disqualifies him from running for office. The attorneys for the voters called an expert on extremism to testify. He told the judge the former president's calls to protest the certification of the 2020 election results were clear messages to extremists to attack the Capitol. Trump's lawyers say his protests over the election were simply the former president's opinion. Our legal analyst, Whitney Traylor, will join us live to talk more about this trial later this morning on KTVD.
In Washington, D.C. this morning, the U.S. has a new ambassador to Israel with a big Colorado connection. The Senate confirmed Jacob Lew to the job, though all but 2 Republicans voted against it. The director of the FBI says that Hamas could inspire other terrorist attacks around the world, including the U.S.
He says Jewish and Muslim communities are the biggest targets. Director Christopher Wray says the FBI already has multiple investigations into people affiliated with Hamas, and they're also investigating hate crimes across the country, including the 6-year-old Muslim boy who was killed in Illinois. Wray says the FBI is also focused on protecting Jewish communities. He says 60% of religious hate crimes are against Jewish people.
Today, a Cornell student is set to appear in court facing federal charges for threatening Jewish students on campus. Patrick Day is a junior at Cornell. He's accused of posting comments online calling for the death of Jewish people, saying he'd shoot up a multicultural dining hall near the Jewish Center and making some other violent threats. Jewish students at Cornell say it's been a scary few days on campus.
To say I feel safe would be, I'm not sure I would be able to say that. I think that, and I know that my friends and my other classmates do not feel safe on campus. They've been using buddy systems to go from class to class.
It's not clear yet if these threats were directly related to the Israel-Hamas war. If he is convicted, Day could face up to 5 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. President Joe Biden just announced a new plan he says will combat anti-Semitism on college campuses. The federal government will work with campus law enforcement to track hate-related threats, especially ones made online. The government will also give schools federal resources to help them out. Members of the Department of Education are visiting campuses around the country this week to learn more about the anti-Semitism and threats that they are dealing with.
And one thing you want to know about the temperatures, they're going to moderate just a little bit. 50s and 60s over the northern front range. You see Fort Collins and Greeley, 53 degrees, 57 in Denver. And you go farther south, you see temperatures getting into the 60s as well. Tomorrow, we warm it even more.